Welcome to Voices in the Community, where we share the stories and conversations with students, staff, and community members who make a difference in Franklin Township. I'm Dr. Chase Huotari, Superintendent of FTCSC, and today we're talking all things writing. So I've got a couple of awesome individuals with me. I've got Ja Seng Lahtaw, a senior at Franklin Central High School, and Lisa Laker, one of our amazing teachers. We're just going to start off. I just want to hear a little bit from you guys about who you are, what you do at Franklin Central, and all of that good stuff. Jocelyn, how about you start us off?
Hi, my name is Ja Seng Lahtaw, first name Ja Seng, last name Lahtaw. I am a first generation low income student, currently a senior at Franklin Central High School. I have a huge passion in STEM related topics. I have worked at the Veterans Hospital with scientists and doctors over the past few summers. But I believe that my biggest purpose in life is to create accessibility in education for refugees' children around the world. In the fall, I'll be attending Bowdoin College, which is a small hidden Ivy League liberal arts college in Brunswick, Maine, and I'm interested in majoring in neuroscience on a pre-med track. Thank you.
That's awesome. We'll come back around to that because you've got some awesome things there. But Lisa, why don't you introduce yourself? Proud Flash since 1995. Tell us a
Yes,
little bit
yes,
about
I'm
you.
a proud Flash. And I feel so joyful teaching creative writing here at Franklin Central, both creative writing and our new dual credit creative writing courses, and really trying to promote students. There's work getting it out there into the contest writing, which is why Ja Seng's here. Ja Seng is a member of our National Honor Society, which I also sponsor, and she was one of our top volunteers of the year. So I know everything she's writing about in the award-winning essay that we'll talk about. She truly believes it and lives it. She helps in her community for sure. But the National Scholastic Writing Contest awards have been around for many, many decades, longer than I have been a teacher here. And I'm in year 31 at Franklin Central. And there are 8 different categories that you could enter. And IUPUI, Dr. Fox, who just finished his 30th year of hosting the contest and kind of being the coordinator for it, he just earned an award at the award ceremony that we went to, and he's passing the baton on to some other English professors in the state. But it's part of the Hoosier National Writing Project, and there's a $10 fee for each entry. And we feel so grateful to Dr. Fox because if you request to have the fee waived, he has grants and benefactors that will cover the cost, which is so it is not prohibitive for our students to join. And we had a lot of kids enter the contest in creative writing club, and dual credit creative writing. There's a picture of a bunch of our students receiving their awards on stage that first Saturday of spring break at the Madam C.J. Walker Theater. They received an award on stage. They got to say their name, their high school's name, and we kept hearing Franklin Central, Franklin Central, Franklin Central. And I was just sitting in the seats with my heart bursting. But what was so exciting is that there's gold rankings, silver rankings, and honorable mention. And we had, I believe, 12 gold key award winners from Franklin Central. And then out of the packed auditorium, they picked 4 best in show, the 4 standout writing pieces from any of the categories and genres, and 2 were Franklin Central students. And Ja Seng was one of those, and her work, along with the other gold key winners, are published in this book. And she wrote an amazing personal memoir called Don't Kill My Friends. And I would love for her to maybe read a little bit of it, or I can because I have the copy right in front of me. But I am so proud of her. And it was a joy to have her as a student in dual credit creative writing last semester.
Ja Seng, so I want to turn to you because you submitted some stuff before we started talking today, and I'm absolutely amazed at your perspective about challenging yourself and working through adversity, and then your passion for helping others work through adversity. But you've been at Franklin Central for 4 years now, and I'm looking through your transcript and your report cards, and you kind of, the first couple years you took your English 9, you took your English 10, you were kind of taking, and all of a sudden your junior year you really started to take some advanced classes and push yourself a little bit. Talk a little bit about the classes that you've taken at Franklin Central and kind of how they've pushed you and shaped you into what you're going to be doing at Bowdoin next year and beyond.
So in my beginning of my high school journey, I didn't know what classes I was supposed to take. So I asked my counselor, like, could you help me with like finding the best classes that will fit my needs and help me like make it not too challenging, but also like being able to learn new things and things that I'm passionate about. But in 10th grade, when I started taking chemistry honors, that's when I knew that these difficult classes are there to not only challenge me, but give me a new perspectives. And so instead of just taking classes that will help me be in my comfort zone, I tried new classes like AP language, English language compositions, where I can not only challenge myself, but also be with students that also have the dedication and the motivation to challenge themselves. And I believe that surrounding myself with people who wants to learn new things, who wants to strive for the best, is a really good thing, because if I'm with them, I'll also feel motivated and I'll push myself even more. And and then after that, I've done a research internship through the American Chemical Society, where I've also met a lot of students that faced a lot of difficulties because they grew up not knowing a lot of English, but they have this passion and mission for the future, and they have like dreams. And so I was really motivated, like, because they were also first generation low income student, and I always thought that if I was first generation low income student, I won't have enough resources. But seeing how they strive for their best motivated me a lot. And then I found Bowdoin College, which is a college known for a lot of personal and mentorship guidance. And as I grew up not having a leader to look up to, I wanted to find a place where I was able to grow with a lot of support, and also have feedback on my work, and where I can strive my best without feeling discriminated or feeling ashamed about my background.
Well, you're awesome because I'm looking here and you're like, oh, I just kind of took some hard classes. Your 11th grade year, AP Bio, dual credit Spanish 3, honors pre-cal, AP Statistics, AP Comp, AP Statistics, AP Psych. You took advantage of about everything that we had possible
Yeah.
here. So I do want to say that you're a leader in your own right and making your
Yes.
path. This is pretty awesome to see, because the world can offer you a lot of opportunities, but if you don't take advantage of them, it doesn't matter whatsoever. And I think that you've grabbed all of those opportunities and said, look, I'm going to take advantage of them. So it looks like you're an AP, you were in creative writing this year. What led to entering this competition? How did you, were you a writer beforehand, or is it something that you've kind of developed over time with your teachers and then you decided to enter?
I always grew up loving to write stories, because first, when I was like in 5th grade, my dad would force me to write stories after school because I didn't have any homework, and that was the only homework that he would give me. But I grew loving to write stories. But then when high school started, I had to write academic papers, and that really pushed back my creative thoughts. But then when I found out about dual credit writing, it was something that really like bring back to my old memories. And I thought about how it could help me with my college application. And I know that in my college application process, I wanted to not only represent as my identity as a nationality from Kachin State, Burma, but also I wanted to speak up for the people that are currently in the military coup in Burma. And so I wrote my personal essay and I asked Miss Laker to review it. And then she was like, "This is so good." And she's like, "You should enter this competition." And I was like, "What
Yeah.
competition?" I didn't know there was a competition at that time. I was really scared because the only competition I've entered was the Bible competition from church. And so when she asked me to enter it, I kind of hesitated and I started asking for help, like help from people. Like, could you read this? Is this good? How can I get my message out? And after finalizing my paper, I submitted my paper to the Scholastic Art and Writing Competition, and I was like, "This is it. I don't know what to change, how it's gonna turn out." And then I got the results, and I couldn't believe it because it was my one of my drafts actually. I realized that it was my draft that I submitted, and the real finalized paper was actually submitted to my college in Bowdoin College, where I also got accepted.
And so we don't want to fail to mention at Bowdoin College, you got a pretty hefty award to attend there. What kind of scholarship did you get to Bowdoin?
It was a full ride. I'm not sure, but
No, you don't have to be sure. Full ride's a full ride's a full ride.
Yes.
So, Lisa, I want to come back to you because I think one of the things that you do a wonderful job of is taking writing that's usually within the four walls of the school and showing kids the audience that they could have with their writing and what they're capable of. You do a lot. I couldn't even begin to describe all of the things that you do, but talk about these kind of competitions and these experiences that you provide students and how it kind of attaches to what you do in the classroom.
Well, we try and do guided lessons so that the kids are writing drafts and final drafts of something that could be put out for a contest. We just had 2 kids win the National Sijo Korean poetry contest out of Chicago, and over this ancient form of poetry. So I always I have vetted these contests, over the years, because there are some that aren't as good as others, and the kids walk in and they're talented, and walk in my classroom door. So I feel so lucky to take kids who love to write, and then you have to be vulnerable and put yourself out there to enter a contest, and they do it. And then we get these results and get published writers and full rides to colleges and things like this. So the talent is here, and it brings me great joy to just promote these contests and encourage kids to put themselves out there. We have a student right now who is in the final round of 3 for the 2nd year in a row at the Indiana Repertory Theater Young Playwrights in Progress contest. We had last year a dual credit creative writer who won Best in Show out of undergrad, graduate, and high school students from Purdue University's contest. And that was amazing for a short story he had written in dual credit creative writing. So we have such great talent. And I love, and Ja Seng's, her class had written several pieces by that point, but she had shown me this essay for her college admittance. And I said, that's the one you need to enter into this contest. That is an amazing story about your journey and your passion in life for immigrants. So, and she did, she entered it. So I was really pleased. And now she's published, which is amazing.
Well, let's jump to that story. Ja Seng, tell us a little bit about kind of the development of that story and how you started thinking about what you wanted to write about, or was it a piece that you'd had for a while and you just kind of brought it to life in the classroom? How did that go? Tell us a little bit about the story that you ended up writing.
So during the college application process, I wanted to not only show myself as a Gachin identity, but also wanted to represent the people of my country, because over the past years, I've learned that my country has been in a civil war for almost 80 years and in a military coup for about 5 years now. And although I haven't was born in my homeland, I hear all these horrible stories, and as during my middle school years, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to help them, but I remember teaching my cousins English every night before I slept, over the phone calls, and those memories came up to me when I was trying to find like what to write about in my story. Also, when I was scrolling through my photos, I've came across this childhood picture of me holding a sign that says "Do not kill my friends," and I remember my dad telling me like that picture was published in 27 news departments, and I wanted to know more about it. So I Google searched that image, and all these articles popped up, and I asked my dad like, what happened when you were in Malaysia? How did you feel? And all those emotions was like really touched me. And then I wanted to captivate all those emotions in my story. And then I realized my purpose was bringing education to these children's, because I believe that I'm very privileged in education, but there's also students that aren't able to reach for their dreams because they don't have access to books and someone to look up to. And in the future, I wanted to become the leader that will not only help them succeed in their dreams, but also for them to be able to inspire the next generations to chase over their dreams. And I wanted to capture all of those in my story. So I wrote everything. I had a lot of thoughts and I had to cut some things off, but that was mostly the main idea of the story.
Awesome. And I know at least one of you has a little excerpt that we can at least kind of hear from the story. Ja Seng, I don't know if you were able to pull it up or if we want Mrs. Laker to read a little bit of it, but I'm really interested in
Do you have it?
hearing a little bit of your story.
I have it pulled up, but I'm not sure which part to read.
I read your opening paragraph. I think that's it. And just saying, was honored at the Madam C.J. Walker Theater and got to share parts of this essay on stage. She had her work read for an audience, which was amazing.
Do you want me to read
Yeah.
like the first paragraph?
Yeah, the first paragraph would be great.
The streets were filled with thunderous voices of an anguished crowd shouting for justice and democracy for the Kachin people. I was 3, standing in a sea of protesters overwhelmed by intense passion for freedom. I stood quietly at my father's side, raising a sign that insisted, "Don't kill my friends," a symbol representing the silent cries of families killed in the sudden outbreak of war in 2011 in Kachin State, Myanmar. Growing up in a house crammed with 30 people, I learned to protect myself from the threats around me. During the day, we hid from the oppressive policemen who arrested individuals without refugee documentations, and at night, constant noise filled the house, keeping us awake. There was no peace, yet listening to people's tragic journey of escaping their homeland opened my eyes to the hidden strength within every story.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. So I got a couple of follow-ups just to kind of finish up. I like to keep these to about 20 minutes when we're running up against the time, which is I've just been really interested to hear this. But one question for each of you to kind of finish up as we get to the end here. Lisa, I've always wanted to ask you, because the passion that you bring to teaching is second to none. And one of the things that we've talked about through our mission statement is showing up as a learner every single day. That's what purposeful learning is. After 30 plus years of teaching, how do you continue to show up as a learner every single day with the passion that you do for teaching and bringing experiences to kids?
Well, I think you value your students' voices and their experiences. And I know that I learn the most every year in my classroom. I learn the most from my students. And I think that you have to be willing to adapt and change and try new things for sure. I'll be using Ja Seng's piece next year when I teach personal memoir. I'll be using her essay, if she gives me her permission, as an exemplar model. And the student, and iron sharpens iron. So the kids see that. And then, how can we not have wonderful writing pieces because of Ja Seng's mentorship?
What I just heard is you want to be great for them. That's what I hear every time I hear you talk, is you all the experiences that you take advantage of in the summer and all the things that you
Mhm.
do is for your kids. So I've always appreciated the way that you've approached the profession. Ja Seng, on the other side for you, the other part of our mission statement's about making a difference, and you have created a platform for yourself to make a difference. And so when you think about your career in high school and then your career when you go on and make a name for yourself, who's somebody who has made a difference for you along the way before you're getting to the end of your high school career into Bowdoin College? And what difference do you want to make when you exit Bowdoin College or medical school or wherever your academic career finishes up?
There's two persons that made a difference in my life, and they're both my mom and dad. And although this is a common answer, my story is actually really different because growing up, I always felt ashamed of who I was because I grew up having parents that didn't come from an educational background. So when I came home from school, I had all these homework, but I didn't know who to ask. And although I try to ask my parents, they were like, I can't do this for you because this is a different learning curricular than I was taught in Burma. So I felt very ashamed. But when in the beginning of high school, I realized that my parents were the foundational support in my academic journey because although they couldn't support me academically with homework, they work very hard and they work long hours just to provide the accessibility of technology or to buy me like expensive books so I can educate myself in the future. And I've come to realize that support can be hard to find, but it's always there with you. And sometimes we get caught up in all these struggles that we forget who's actually supporting us right now. And in the future, I would want to be the leader that younger generations can look up to, whether they're dreaming big to become doctors or to become musicians. And I would want them to look up to me because I feel like my story could potentially match with theirs too, with all the struggles that they've been through. And I want them to reach out to me too because I know that we're all struggling with a lot of different things, but we can strive for our best, even whether the outcome may be uncertain. But yes.
Yeah, well, you guys are both an inspiration as learners and difference makers. I appreciate you both taking the time to talk with me today. Thanks for sharing your story, literally sharing your story with us, but also congratulations on earning the award of the National Scholastic Writing Awards. Such an awesome thing. And Lisa, keep providing opportunities for kids. You are a flash that we love having around, and you embody everything that we want from our professional staff. So thank you both, you guys, and thanks to everybody for joining us on another episode of Voices in the Community. We'll see you next time.